Chapter 48, in which Princess Kitty decides to mingle with other friends. With the announcement of the first Appreciation Day for Princess Kitty from Mayor Donovan, there came individual celebrations, one after the other. When July came, just as Ryotaro expected to happen, Princess Kitty's face and name made front-page news in every paper across the city. The mayor won't silence them this time. Reporters on radio talked excitedly about how she had made an impact to Kodono, one of which stated that Princess Kitty is the most important person in Kodono since the man who founded it, though some historians insist that's not up to debate. Inside every hotel barroom, from the Valerian to the Oxford, the wealthy elite raised their glasses in a toast to Princess Kitty. At the local orphanage, where Miss Plimsoll ran it, one of the little girls came running around the dormitory, wearing cat ears made of cardboard, and a belt tied to the lower back of her dress, while waving a broomstick around. When Miss Plimsoll came into the room and saw it, she would ask, "What do you think you're doing, child?" To which the girl replied, "Sorry, Miss Plimsoll, we were playing Princess Kitty." Miss Plimsoll would then smile at the girl's new effort to play with the other children. From her luxury suite at the Hotel Adriano, Princess Kitty looked out the window, her ears picking up the one continuous, unwavering roar of the voices from the city folk. They were all shouting, "God bless Princess Kitty, the cat girl of Kodono!" At the same time, she was smiling and tearing up. She is already determined to fulfill her destiny. To her, this is what all the work had been for since she first came here from her kingdom. On the first day of July, crowds that were gathered everywhere numbed the senses, and reporters resorted to testimonials of individual people in the street, the ones who were affiliated with her. To the city of Kodono, this could be the start of a new and better Kodono with her in existence. It was to be the start of a new era. However, that is what the Cat Queen and the yokai expected to happen. But it shall be done only by them, something that will probably shock and baffle the whole of civilization forever. For now, it will take until the 29th for the fuse to reach the powder, which will determine the fate of this entire city. Okio, who volunteered as Princess Kitty's personal maid at the Hotel Adriano, under the alias of Clara Patterson, came into the luxury suite. "Kitty, is there something I could do for you at this time?" she asked.
"As a matter of fact, I do,"
Princess Kitty said.
"I would like to spend the next few weeks with my friends."
"And how can you manage to do that without 1,000 people coming to you?"
"I don't know, Okio. I didn't expect myself to be too famous."
"Well, I don't blame them. Neither does the other yokai. And especially not the queen. Perhaps an appeal to the public will yield results."
"I've seen and heard the city folk of what I did. Parents are going wild because their children want to be like me. Everybody, including the reporters, is grateful."
"They should be, Kitty. Your face and your name is all over the papers. You will forever be known as the cat girl of Kodono."
"I'm aware of all this, and I'm happy about it. Just as long as they don't hound me like I'm some wounded animal."
Okio then gave Princess Kitty the mayor's phone number. "I do hope this could be useful," Okio said. "You can have Donovan yield the public until the big day. Even though you're popular, you're not properly welcomed. It'll take weeks before they enter July."
"Yes,"
Princess Kitty said, before picking up the phone.
"And I did give the yokai my word that if I fulfill my destiny, I must fulfill theirs."
"That's right," Okio said. "The thoughts of precision and order only has a month left to exist in this world." Then Princess Kitty made the call to Mayor Donovan about her concerns. Until the end of July, the city folk shall continue their celebrations, but under the orders from the mayor, It is ill-advised that an appeal must be filed from Princess Kitty while she wanders through the streets without being mobbed by reporters, demanding interviews because she did remarkable things. The first place she decides to visit was the orphanage run by Miss Plimsoll, where the children of Bombay were taken to after Princess Kitty saved them. She approached the red door and rang the doorbell. Inside the doorway stood the matron, her eyes widened at the sight of the cat girl.
"Can I help you, dear?" she asked. "Do you remember finding the children at your doorstep?"
Princess Kitty asked. "Yes," Miss Plimsoll said. "What about them?"
"Did they tell you everything when you found them?"
"Why, yes, they have."
"What they say to you about Cat Bus and me are the truth."
"Oh," Miss Plimsoll exclaimed.
"You mean yes,"
Princess Kitty said.
"I did save them from a tyrant known as Baron Heinrich von Bratwurst after they were turned into pigs. Then I turned them back into children and brought them here."
"Well now," Miss Plimsoll said, "not only you are a care of all children, nor an inspiration, you are a heroine to them."
"Only they didn't know the things I did and the hardships they face. It would be nice if I should tell them about my expedition."
Miss Plimsoll stepped aside to let the girl in. The children of the orphanage have never been this excited when Princess Kate came into the dormitory. They immediately screamed and ran to her. She carefully pushed them out of her way so she can sit on one of the beds.
"Dear children," she said, "it's been weeks since I last saw you, and since I saved you all."
One of the boys asked, "What have you been doing after that?"
"You all stay quiet now, and I'll tell you."
Then she begins her story.
"After I leave you, I was ordered by the King and Queen of KAWAII Wonderland, my father and my mother, to go forth on a sole expedition that lasts until the day of the bicentennial, which means I must leave my friends, the Pratchett's, behind. I was told to find other grown-ups and make friends out of them. After visiting the library and learning more about the city, I first head over to Moimo Harbor and inside the Crimson Pig, where I meet a fisherman named Fred Groden, who is the captain of his own ship, the Maybelle. He invited me to go on an 8-day fishing expedition to the North Sea with his fellow sailors who are loyal to him on his ship. I agreed to his proposal, but in order to prevent the sailors from getting irrational on board, I hid my ears and tail with a cap and shirt and go by the name of Kitty Felinis. Once we're at sea, I've met a college student named Gifford Rogers, though I call him Giff. He told me about himself, wanting to be a star in Empire City instead of a pianist in London."
"Were you in love with him?" one of the girls asked.
"I have. Though I have no issue in the matter,"
Princess Kitty said.
"I did enjoy his music, as well as his black and white cat, named after a French poet. Out at sea, the seamen happened to capture a large creature called a stormfish, a large catfish with black skin and pink lips. The fools! They happened to capture an infant, which is 4 meters long. So I told them to toss it back into the sea, for I have read about such a specimen in the library, and know the consequences of capturing one. However, Fred, arrogant as he is, refused to listen, and allows the fish to remain in the hold until we return to Moimo. So I scratched him in the arm when he grabs me. But unknowingly, that draws attention toward the seaman, a Frenchman named Sieur Lefebvre. Throughout the voyage, he's suspicious of me, which I've always denied. The first few days at sea has Cyril and several sailors suspect me, though my relationship between me and Giff improves. On Saturday, there came a mutiny against Fred and I. When I was told by Fred to take off my cap and lift my shirt, I managed to vanish both my ears and tail. So Fred is fed up and chastised the seamen for suspecting me, even Cyril, by having his pay forfeited upon return. However, the ruse did not last long. On Sunday night, just as I feared, a terrible storm came from dozens of stormfish, larger than the infant. Though I tossed the infant back into the sea, the stormfish sank the ship and killed half of the crew, including an old man named Otis McGinty, which I knew also. He wanted to take me to see his wife and granddaughter upon returning, Using my strength, I raised the ship back up, but the damage was done. There, I revealed myself to the surviving seamen, including Giff, though he decided to remain on my side. Leaving Fred to grieve, he left me in charge as acting captain, ensuring that I do what I can to help them survive and get back home. For food, when the seamen capture fish once more, I turn all the fish gummy so they can taste better, though I allow them to eat regular fish. For water, I bring forth a large silver cauldron full of seawater and several chalices. In order to drink the water, they must use the chalices to make it sweet. However, Bugsy refused to believe in me and made me angry enough to use the Batsu stare on him. Even though he lived, he will not be the same, even after returning. On Wednesday night, before we return, there was this fog, and along with it approached a giant swan, taller than the ship itself. And coming from that was a man, known as the Master of the Swans, with 2 black swans by his side. They help us get back to Morimo, with the swan towing the ship. Once we've reached the harbor, however, I didn't want to be seen by anyone who doesn't believe. So I leave the crew without saying goodbye, before I continue wandering the streets.
So what happened after you went back? One of the boys asked.
Ah, yes,
Princess Kay said, pulling out her scepter.
That's when I've decided to do great things to the people of Kodono. When the clock tower is damaged from the inside, I use this to have the clock continue working without the main wheel until a replacement arrives. Then I head over to a laundromat in Will Lane where the Briggs sisters, Violet and Daisy, work. I bring the wet and soapy clothes to life and have them attend a drying race to have them blown by the wind as they flew to Market Square and back. And after that, I stopped a couple of bank robbers who drove a black van. After that, one of Tarnarder's friends, Danny, coaxed me into attending Francine's birthday party, though I caused chaos after drinking lemon juice with sugar. However, it turns out they were having a great time, even after being besmirched in chocolate. On Tuesday, upon entering the Mercury Theater, I overheard a conversation concerning the performers, the entertainers, and the marching band after they were sick with food poisoning the day before. So, under the alias of Katie of Koriko, I used this scepter to improvise an entire parade with cats as replacements, as well as conjuring up a schooner called the Spirit of Freedom, where it was crewed by the first 12 mayors of Kodono, including the city's founder himself. The parade was going quite well, baffling those who witnessed it, but I saw the Pratchett's neighbor, Constance Malchance, a woman I've met before, after visiting her house, berating the children and their father. So seeing her covered in chocolate and feathers, I lecture her again, thus humiliating her further. Upon recognizing me atop the ship, she went to the police. However, I conclude the parade and have all the cats go away before she came back. Is that what happened?
One little girl asked.
I was with Miss Plimsoll when I saw the parade with the cute cats.
Princess Kitty smiled.
I'm glad you enjoy as much as the others. I do anything I can to have myself feel welcomed. Now let me continue the story after the parade. There came a thunderstorm that caused a blackout all over the city. But that is none of my concern. It is only natural at first. I danced mindlessly in the rain with the kerosene street lamps around me, enjoying the feeling of drops of water onto my skin. But then, I was drawn to the forest, where I meet the enormous great wolf of the forest, Morino Okami. She told me to go back to Morimo before falling asleep. Upon returning, I arrive at a lighthouse where 2 people work. Inside, I meet 2 of the Maple crew, Fred and Larry. Because I left, Fred is left in a plight, with his ship decommissioned and his fishing business making its way to the gallows from Donovan. I urge him to work in a different profession. Thankfully, Larry is willing to support him. While I work at the lighthouse, out there, I spot a balloon approaching the shore, but it was attacked by an arashi bird. Using my scepter and saving the balloonist, I attack her, striking her a few times with my powers before she left in rage to vent her frustration. When the rain cleared, I came to realize that the creatures I've read begin to feel all real, because I happened to bring them here after I bring forth only one, the cat bus that you've all heard about.
A heavy silence fell in the dormitory. Even the children were stunned about what they've heard.
Yes,
Princess Kitty went on.
I brought them here, but it was an accident, unintentional. I didn't mean for all this to happen. I do anything I can to make up my behavior after I got my friends in trouble with Malchance by taking them on an adventure. Now, children, will you let me continue the rest, or will I tell you later?
Please tell us now, cried the children. What happened next?
I saw my father,
She went on.
He congratulated me and insisted I'd try harder. However, what stopped me is the hateful words I've heard from Donovan on the broadcast. It's like they're driving me away. It's like my existence is the reason why the city folk are behaving irrationally, making them have their head up in the clouds. He said, I will not be tolerated any further with any more talks of such common lunacy.
That must have been terrible to you, one girl said. And after all the great things you did.
But that was just the start,
Princess Kay said.
After meeting Giffigan, that's when the Providence arrived from Empire City. I encased myself in a bubble and went up to the sky so I could see myself. But just then, an explosion drew my attention from Withermire. I went there and met an unlikely man named Professor K.A. Boom, along with his niece and robot companion. Upon seeing me, K.A. Boom was fascinated and wished to know more about me. He undergoes a physical examination on me, including my weight and my structure, before he decides to stay in his place for the night. The next morning, I met an artist named Cameron Copley. He took me in his apartment in Garofalo Street so he can sketch a proper picture of me. Then, we make a quick visit to Good Cookie Pan Bakery before heading to the beach. That night, Cameron told me that he actually was a newsreel cameraman and insists on becoming an artist. He wanted to show the footage of the cat parade he filmed, but it was refused, saying that it was against reality and unrealistic. Because of the incident with the Arashi bird, the mayor decrees that articles discussing such things are blacklisted from every paper in the city. As a result, I had a nightmare about Donovan wanting me gone. On the day of the bicentennial, I decided to leave and go back to the kingdom, until my father intervened, telling me that I make myself known if I want to fulfill my destiny. And what's worse, there's been a disaster with the dirigible, blown by freak winds, and my friends inside it with the dirigible crew. Panicking, when I saw it from the rooftops, that's when I realized I had left my scepter in the apartment, thus making me unable to stop this. After falling off, I went off running, trying to catch up with the Providence. But the city folk stopped me and became surrounded. But one woman named Miss Lenoir stopped them from coming to me. But not before transforming into her true self, much to the horror of the crowd. The Cat Queen of the Underground. When the cat bus is then summoned by her, I beg him to save the precious children, as well as Gif, who is hanging on to one of the mooring lines, and the dirigible crew. When I saw the cat bus leave and heading up to the rooftops, that's when I saw the dirigible crashing into the city's clock tower in Market Square. But the cat bus arrives there and saves both Gif and the dirigible crew, but not the children. So I have to save them, for I am the one. And that's what I did. I went back for my scepter and saved them, just as the dirigible collapsed. That's when I made myself known to Godano, though I am not welcomed. I shall be properly welcomed at the end of July, just as the reformed mayor has announced.
Well, Miss Plimsoll exclaimed, having heard her story.
Let's hope you do get welcome to our society. The children does deserve a creature like you who can do a lot of good for us, after what you've been through these past weeks.
Yes, miss,
Princess Kay said.
And will the orphans attend my ceremony? They shall have my permission to do so.
Thank you, Kitty. So now that you're here, it will be nice if the children play with you for a while.
Princess Kay looked at her clock, reading 10:20.
Oh, very well. I shall be departing when it's 12. After that, I shall head to a different place to visit another friend. To the children of this orphanage, my existence is enough to send a clear message that as long as you believe, you can do anything, even after growing up, and simply make a living.
Since the destruction of the clock tower on June 9th by the nose of the Providence, the old clockmaker, who was the caretaker in charge of maintenance and repairs, remained in his shop on Main Street, while cleanup on Market Square is underway. That's where Princess Kitty is going next after playing with the children at the orphanage. She opened the door, and there was a jangling sound. Then he can see the old man approaching her.
I once told you that we cross each other's paths again after I fixed your clock on the tower with my magic,
she said.
Now I'm here again, and it is such a pleasure to do so.
Indeed it is, he smiled. With you here, that actually makes me feel a whole lot better, Kitty. Looking around the room, with an arrangement of tall grandfather clocks and clocks hanging on the wall, as well as the watches on the display tables, she said,
You really have a fine establishment here on Main Street.
Thank you, Kitty, he said. Time is indeed precious, but life is short. We don't know what will happen in the next moment. It is the only thing we can't get back.
Time and tide wait for none,
she said. Yes, that is correct, he said.
So what shall become of your tower?
The tower still stands and refused to fall. It is the top of it that was destroyed, just the steeple as well as the statue of our founder, Ezra Renhold Cardono. It is indeed a loss to everyone, especially me. With Market Square off limits, I don't think I would see the entire town from that high up in the belfry. It's going to take a long time before it's all cleared. Princess Kay came closer and placed her hand on the countertop.
Is there something I could do for you?
She asked. No, Kitty, he said. But I shall give you this. He brings forth a gold pocket watch with a blue ribbon. On the lid is an engraving of the city's clock tower with the word Cardono above it. This is a gift to you for saving those children just as the dirigible collapsed. Even though I had to get out of harm's way when it did, it's a good thing I still read the paper. She takes the watch and opens the lid. Inside was a clock face that's about the same as the one on the tower. She then stuffs it inside her flat cleavage.
Thank you, sir,
she said.
I wish you the best in your shop, and I give you my request to come to the fairground for my ceremony on the 29th.
You're welcome, Kitty, he said. May you continue to amaze Cardono with the things you can do. Upon arriving at Moormore Harbor, she spots Gunter Hawkins near the Crimson Pig, along with several Tanaki in their disguised selves, with Herman Muldowney playing the guitar, singing. Our flame shall continue to run through the fuse. The days of July come trickling away. When the end has come, the flame will reach the powder. Then Cardono shall be in the hands of us. All around their celebration shall continue, while they are unaware of what is to come. They all stood this close to the threshold, while we are reaching the end of the story. Then George Beaumont shouted, suddenly staring at her. "Well, Kitty! How nice of you to come here!" Gilbert Hanley said.
"And it sure was a pleasure to finally meet you, even after—"
He was suddenly elbowed in the belly by Gunter and slumped to his knees. "You'll be walking back home with sore testicles if you dare mention that to her. I can promise you that," Gunter hissed.
"Well, this is what I get for telling the truth,"
Gilbert groaned.
"So you are just as the Cat Queen has stated. The one,"
his wife Belle said to Princess Kitty.
"She told us all about you. Told us what you really are, what you meant for them, and what you've done."
"Yes," Herman said, then stopped playing. "What do you think? I've been writing this ballad just for you for some time, before your return from the sea. I was hoping you'd like it as much as the yokai did."
"It's good, but I've come here just to see a friend of mine,"
she said.
"I'm actually here to see Fred Groden. I want to see if he does make another living here."
"He does all right," Gunter said. "And he'll have to work harder, now that he lost his boathouse." Her eyes widened with shock.
"He did?" "It was in violation of the building code, so it had to be raised,"
Gilbert said.
"Where can I find him, if he's in the harbor?"
she asked. "Lucky for you, he's in there, believe it or not," Gunter said. "He'll be in there for a long while."
"So, he really done it,"
Princess Kitty thought. Just as she makes her way, she was stopped by George. "Everyone in Kadono must not know about what is to come. If you tell them, it will be the same as not keeping your word. And that would be bad, wouldn't it?"
"I will not tell anyone,"
she said.
"I just don't want them to be scared."
"Suppose that will be too easy for you, wouldn't it?"
Gilbert asked.
"Because it's only a matter of time before precision and order exists no more."
"That is what the Queen has ordained," Gunter said. "Just imagine how far you have gone since you first come here. Especially while you're making your way towards the end of your story, Kitty."
"How right, Gunter," George said. "We're almost at the end."
Princess Kitty quickly shoved him away and ran inside. Inside the seedy room of the Crimson Pig, there she spots fisherman Fred Groden, sitting alone in a booth. That did remind her of the first time she met him. She immediately ran to him.
"Hey, Fred,"
she said. He saw her and said, "Good to see you again, Kitty."
"I came up by just to check up on you. I heard your boathouse is raised."
"I know," he said flatly. "Which is why I'll be working at the dockyards, just so I can make enough to pay rent and buy food."
"You are?"
she asked.
"And how long before you can be captain of a ship again?"
"Best not to think about what is to come, Kitty," he said. "And I hear that you're going to have an appreciation day. I heard what the mayor announced, even though he has my boathouse dismantled."
"I was hoping you would be here at my ceremony."
"Well, we'll see, Kitty. After all, we had a long way before it's the end of the month."
"I really wish you the best."
She smiled, but then thought of something.
"By the way, about Gifford. Where do you think he lives? I don't think he told me."
"Lucky for you. The cabin boy told me where he come from. He lives in 253 Trinity Street. You find his house, you find him." The large pink bubble, which Princess Kitty was encased inside, hovers above the cars and pedestrians on the streets, reaching Trinity Street. There she carefully scanned the numbers on every door, very slowly. 245, 247, 249, 251, 253. As soon as she found the right house, she has the bubble land in front of it and dematerialize, and her scepter back in her hand. She approached the doorstep and rang the doorbell 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Inside the doorway stood the parents, Alan and Carol Rogers. Upon seeing the cat girl, they were taken aback.
I was hoping your son does say a lot of things about me,
Princess Kay said. When he's on that ship, the Maybelle? Alan asked. Yes, he did. He also told us that he had a crush on you.
How expected,
Princess Kay said, and lets herself into the foyer.
And tell me, is he here? I want to see him after he almost died in the Providence.
Don't! Carol suddenly cried. Please, do not say the name of that dirigible or even mention it ever again. It is nothing more than a hex to us, as well as a horrible memory that could bring us back. Then she began to cry on her husband's shoulder.
It is indeed a horrible memory. A memory in which I've caused,
Princess Kay said. You did? Alan asked. Then how?
I didn't go to the fairground, as I was expected, because I'm driven away from here by your mare,
Princess Kay said.
Your son is almost killed on that day because of me. Now that you know, I doubt you or her will ever have me see or talk to dear Gifford again.
I'm sorry, Alan said. We were just listening to what Donovan said on the broadcast, but we didn't mean to hurt you. You did save those 2 children, and that's enough for the city to realize how important you are here. I've been reading the headlines after the incident at Market Square. I can't help seeing your face on the front page.
And what will become of Gift now?
Princess Kitty asked.
I'm sure he'll make a very good pianist in London.
No, Alan said. I'll tell you where he'll be going after he graduates. He's going right to America, on transatlantic...
To Empire City!
Princess Kate cried.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do. And to hell with London and its weather. Language, Alan, Carol said.
What's with the sun change location?
Princess Kay asked. We're doing what is right for him, Alan said. They have pianists in Empire City, like Gershwin or Jerome Kern.
Not only that, it was his dream.
Exactly. And we want to make sure it comes true. Princess Kay nodded.
You will come to my ceremony.
Of course we can, Carol said. You deserve to be welcomed. Then Princess Kay can hear Gift from upstairs. Kitty? Kitty! Upon hearing, she bolted upstairs and burst through the door to Gift's room, where he immediately embraced her, crying. If only you knew how long I've been wanting to see you again after I almost died, he exclaimed.
I do,
she said softly.
It's because I wasn't there. I was in the park when I first heard of what happened to the dirigible. I even visualized you hanging out for dear life through Mirror May. That's when I've made a grave mistake. I left my scepter back in the apartment at Gruffalo Street. Because of my mistake, I'm unable to save you, the Pratchett children, and the crew on board, especially stopping the dirigible from destroying the tower. And then came the cat bus, scaring pedestrians of all sexes and ages, and caused destruction in his way, which was summoned by the Cat Queen.
You mean that tall cat creature with that huge grin like a demented Cheshire cat? He asked.
Did she save you?
Yes, she did. I saw her when I was about to fall to my death. She said, "Quite an experience to live in a world of wonder, isn't it? Let this be a lesson to those who don't believe."
Indeed that incident is. Even I, knowing the consequence of my actions, have learned it.
Oh, Kitty, he said softly. Everything is better now. They now know the fact that Cadoro truly deserves you after all that has happened.
And what then?
She said.
What other kind of misfortune shall occur?
We won't let it happen, because you're the one who could do something about it, ensuring the safety of our own. Right now I finally had my dream, and it will start when I graduate. I can't wait to see the other side of the world.
I really wish you the best,
she smiled.
Now I must go and meet other friends I've made.
In the future, he insisted, when you visit Empire City, expect to see my name next to Ethel Merman's on the Marquis of the Alvin. Goodbye. Then she hurried down the stairs and out towards the street. While the factories and facilities of Withermire bustle with the familiar sound of machinery, the billowing of smoke from chimneys, and the coming of freight trains, Princess Kitty arrived at the industrial warehouse where Professor Boom and his companions reside. Landing on her feet, she heads up the stairway and bangs on the office door. It swung open, and Miranda approached the doorway with her arms crossed.
Hello, Miranda,
Princess K said.
I wish to visit the professor again.
You know, I don't think you want to do that, given that he's still obsessed with you, Miranda said. Then Princess K can see Professor Boom coming, and drag his niece back into the office, hissing, "If you ever drive her out again like last time..."
Professor, you don't need to be upset any further just because I had to leave,
Princess Katie interrupted. "And I was hoping you'd stay with us this time," Professor Boom snapped. "I was busy with your profile, Kitty, and there's more to know now."
Like what? How many things do you wish to know about me?
Oh, just as much as I want. Then he took her by the hand and pulled her inside the mezzanine office. There he guides her to a stack of sheets on the desk next to the underwood. The small typed words read, "The Profile of Princess Kitty. Seeing that you are 35% human, I classify you as Felix sapiens catus," he smirked. Flipping a few pages, she said,
I'm very impressed about this kind of information. I suppose I did stand out among cats and humans.
"Indeed," he nodded. Suddenly she said to him,
I had a family, Professor, back where I'm from. Their names are King Cat and Queen Feline. They rule the kingdom together, even with me as their daughter.
"Wait," he said, sitting down in front of the underwood. After typing a few sentences, he said, "Go on, tell me more." As he typed, she stated,
As for this so-called advanced technology to emulate the human form, I only use this.
She shows him her scepter.
Twice I've become human, under the alias Katie of Coracle. This also is the source of the abilities I've had, not from genetics. And where will you find KAWAII Wonderland? Miles. Even light years away from your planet. Even though I haven't been to school, I was only educated by my father, who has trained me. I happen to learn languages of different tongues with ease. As for my age, it seemed uncertain. My blood is blue, because I'm literally a blue blood. Seeing that I'm half human, you could say I'm a carbon-based life form. I do hope I answered all of your inquiries. Unless you ask me more.
"Are you kidding?" he exclaimed. "It's no wonder I consider you the most interesting discovery in, dare I say, the entire 20th century. And because of what you've done, especially saving your friends on the day of the bicentennial, even though this cat monster with holes helped, I'd be happy to attend your ceremony at the end of July. Your Appreciation Day. A remarkable holiday for a remarkable creature like yourself."
Professor, what about you? Will you be improving your inventions?
After I got beaten to a pulp by Hofstadter over 10 sterlings, which I've said about no refunds, I don't think I should for this month. Instead, I'll be focusing on your profile. One must wonder what the future holds for you. Come to think of it, I wonder if you shall ever be put into songs or books, told by the fireside, or read out of a great book years and years afterwards. Hell, just imagine Zanuck, or even Selznick, those big-shot producers from Hollywood, want to make a picture about you. If you ask me, I think Anne Shirley would make a great choice for playing you. That'll make a great epic, for the price of one admission ticket.
That would be hard to believe, if I ever get into the Flickers.
Well, we got plenty of time, don't we? Oh, we'll see.
What about Miranda, or your robot? Will they attend?
Suppose she was right about me and my so-called career, he said. I really am a failure and a loser when it comes to inventing. The sooner she gets out of my hair, the better. Yes, they will come.
Thank you, Professor. And good luck with your work. I'm pretty sure everyone would like to hear about me. Even some king or queen of this country. You'll just wait and see.
When the middle of July came, Princess Kay decided to stay in the Adriano until the big day. Aside from Okio keeping the Catgirl company as their maid, there was the Pratchett's. Nobody was happier in the room than Princess Kitty. When Grandpa Jack and the grandchildren came, even Clara is pleased. "How nice to see you here," she said, smiling to the Pratchett's. "If there's anything I could get you lot while you visit, please do not hesitate, for I'm just as meek as the other women." "Oh, don't worry," Grandpa Jack said. "We won't do it often. But haven't you seen the ballroom? It's the same as the last time I saw it 60 years ago. I could have sworn that I could still hear the sound of the string quartet in there."
"Oh, Jack,"
Princess Kay said.
"Claire's been so very expressive to me. Well, unlike my lady-in-waiting back at KAWAII Wonderland. She seemed very blank, even while attending cotillions. Couldn't blame her."
"Your lady-in-waiting?" Todd asked. "What would she say if she hears about you being accepted to New World?"
"Believe me, Todd, she would care less."
"Seeing that you brought up the subject, we were now hoping if we can probably see her if she came here too. This lady-in-waiting," Grandpa Jack said.
"We'll see,"
Princess Kay said.
"We will see."
Then her ears perk up by a faint sound coming from outside. But it wasn't the sound of the trumpets blown from KAWAII Wonderland. Instead, it was the strumming of an acoustic guitar. Opening the window and looking down, she could see Herman Muldowney on the opposite sidewalk, accompanied by several people. Playing his guitar, he sang, "We sing to you, dear Princess Kitty. Your story is almost over, unless there's another being carefully written. May you continue to amaze all of Cardono with all for the great things you're willing to do while we wait for the big day. The end of July is at hand." Then she slammed the window shut just before Herman kicks off with another verse.
"My story is almost over, unless there's another being carefully written," he said.
She said softly.
"Thankfully, it may take a year, many years, before such a thing comes to realization."
"Meaning another adventure, I'm certain," Grandpa Jack said. "That's what concerns me. If it did come to realization after a few years, I don't think I won't be alive to see it or be a part of it."
"Well, we'll just see, Jack. You may not live long, but we will see what awaits us in the years ahead."
Then the door swung open, and Cameron Copley came into the room. Turning to face him, Princess Kay immediately ran and hugged him.
"Oh, it is good to see you again,"
she chirped. "Oh, same to you too," he laughed, gently pushing her off. "Kitty, do you remember that I wanted to be an artist while I'm still a cameraman for the newsreels back in June? Well, I am now."
"What?"
she asked, her eyes widening. "I recently quit my job at the Times. Now I can finally fulfill my dream. I can't wait to get started."
"Oh, will you?"
she asked.
"Where will you go from here?"
"No idea right now," he said. "However, I did meet a girl while I was visiting an art museum. Alicia was her name. She seemed very impressed when I told her about you, as well as the paintings. I took her to my apartment and showed them to her. Seeing me alone, she said, "It must be very hard for you to live here by yourself."
Does she like them?
She does, Kitty. In fact, she insisted that I donate them to the museum. It may take a while, though.
You now have a relationship?
You can say that, Kitty. In fact, she wanted to be my wife. Seems sudden, but we'll work this out. I can continue to make paintings of you. You could probably come to my studio if you like, and see what I got. You happen to inspire so many people, and I'm just along for the ride. You have a very interesting personality, and they can't wait for you to take on the world and make it a place worth living. Then she thought of something.
Cameron, I have to tell you something,
she said. What? He asked.
On the day of the bicentennial, when I first heard the disaster, I forgot my scepter at your apartment.
I see, he said. Did you come through the window and retrieve it back? Because my windows are always open, so I can get some ventilation while painting. She slowly nodded, grimly. Oh, don't worry about it, he smiled. I'm sure you didn't mean to leave your scepter when it happened. Say, how would you like to see Leola? She just had a child almost a week ago. Her eyes widened.
She did?
You mean, you didn't know that she's having a baby? He said. Well, isn't that good news, Mr. Copley? Grandpa Jack smiled. Must have felt very proud. Well, her husband was, Cameron said.
What is the name of her child?
Princess Kitty asked. Well, she did tell me that she wanted to name her baby after you during my visit to our bakery before it was due. Lucky for her, it was a girl. So she named the child Kat, short for Catherine.
Oh, she did?
She asked. She can feel herself all warm within her, the absolute gift of a new face to the world. Well, would you like to see her? He said.
The sooner the better, I suppose.
We'll be spending time here until you come back, Grandpa Jack said. Is it okay with you, Kitty?
You remember what I said when you first dropped me off,
she said.
You can always visit, for as long as you dare like.
Oh, with you going to be welcome soon? Cameron said. Things really are beginning to get back to normal. She shook her head.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm not an ordinary cat after all.
Heading out the front door of the Adriano and into the Mercedes, both Princess Kitty and Cameron can hear the sounds of Herman's guitar as he continues to sing. We sing for you, cat girl from another world. You've come such a long way to make this entire city your home. Kitty, do you think that man's a busker? Cameron asked. I did throw my 20 sterlings into someone's hat, but the man with the guitar stopped playing and told me to put it back in my wallet, saying that my money is no good for him. I did what he told me, but it was not an excuse to be so ill-bred to me. As the Mercedes drove through the street, while looking out the window, Princess Kitty can feel her lower extremities turn to ice when she saw a long beige Peugeot passing beside Cameron's Mercedes. That does make her hope to God that either the chauffeur or the passenger inside it didn't take notice.